Well, hello again sports fans. This is the latest flight of the Tek-Sumo. I've changed the prop from a 9x6 slow fly to a 8x6 APC to see if I can get some more range out of it. It certainly makes the hand launch a little bit more interesting, but I'm happy to put up with that if I can get a little bit more range. So I'm heading out to the valley behind the mountain there to the south. And I'm using the Quantum Overlord video receiver because I find it easier to make adjustments to the antenna direction when the signal gets poor. So we're about 1.5 kilometres out, and I'm climbing to an altitude of about 400 metres. I don't usually expect to see any video problems until I get around about the 4 kilometre mark, so I'll just fast forward through this part. It's pretty straightforward, nothing exciting happening. I'm flying with about a 10 kilometre wind behind me, so it'll be interesting on the way back. So it's around this point where I start to curve in behind the mountain, and I quite often need to adjust the antenna to keep it centralised. So today's no different. The picture starts to break up. Unfortunately, the way I've set up the monitor, I can't actually look at the monitor and the RSSI indicator on the Overlord at the same time, so I've had to take my eye off the screen, and that's allowed the Tek-Sumo to drift off to the right hand side while I was sorting it out. But I get a good picture back and carry on. So I'll just fast forward through this. I'm just flying straight down the valley, trying to keep to the left, which is the eastern side. So we're just coming up on the 6 kilometre mark, and everything's going really well. I'm pretty happy with the current draw. There still seems to be more than 11 volts in the tank, and the speed's reasonable. The picture's good, so things couldn't be better. Usually at this stage of the flight I'm starting to get a little bit nervous, and just trying to hold my nerve to get out to 7 kilometres and hope that there's enough battery left to get back, but at this point I'm not nervous at all for a change. So I'm passing the 7.5 kilometre mark, which is about as far as I've gone in this direction, and I'm looking at the battery voltage indicator there and seeing that I've still got more than 11 volts left, and I'm thinking I'll just keep going till the voltage drops below 11 volts or I lose the video signal. So the distance clicks over past the 8 kilometres, and I'm pretty pleased. The voltage is still up above 11 volts. The picture's still really good, and I'm wondering, can I get to 9? So the 8.5 kilometres clicks up, and I start to see a little bit of graininess in the picture, and it just gets a bit worse quite quickly. I can just see enough of the skyline to keep on track, and I'm moving the antenna around trying to improve the picture, and I'm dropping the angle of the patches to see if it's related to that. The picture does seem to be improving a bit, but I notice that I've started to drift offline, and I'm not quite sure where I am. And when the picture clears enough for me to see that I'm past the 9 kilometre mark, I decide, well, I'll just keep going in this turn, and that's probably far enough. I notice the voltage has gone down below the 11 volts, and I just hope that's enough to get me home against the wind. So the picture's still pretty good, and I decide I'm just going to try and follow the river and keep to the right hand side of the valley, the eastern side of the valley, well away from the mountain. So I noticed that the speed's dropping from around about 40 kilometres an hour down into the 20s now as I push it back against the wind. I'm a bit reluctant to feed in any more throttle because of the distance I've got to travel, and the amp draws are pretty good at the moment. But I do switch to return to home mode because that'll give me the most direct route home. The downside is that it brings me over to the left hand side of the valley, closer to the mountain, which tends to knock the video signal around quite a bit. The speed's starting to get a bit of a real concern. I'm down to 14 kilometres an hour, which isn't good. And then I noticed that the current draw goes up dramatically and the speed starts to pick up, and I'm wondering what the heck's going on here. I haven't increased the throttle, and the flight controller doesn't have any control of the throttle. So I'm trying to figure it out, and then the current drops back down again. So it's a little odd. I think it must be some sort of glitch. But then it jumps back up again and the speed increases again. So I'm really thinking there must be something wrong with the speedy or the motor, and not very happy with the situation at this time. I'm not looking forward to going for another walk in the scrub to find a down model again. So I finally noticed that the RSSI indicator is flashing low, and that this means that the plane's been going into failsafe, and the failsafe throttle setting is higher than my cruising setting, and that is accounting for the variations. I have a look at the EasyUHF module and notice that it's still in low power mode, so I switch it to high power and the signal strength comes back up, and I don't have any more problems. Well, not with signal strength anyway. There's still more than 6 kilometres to get home. But I'll just fast forward through this next bit. Nothing really exciting happens here. So we're coming up to just 6 kilometres to go, and as I expected, the return to home mode has brought me over to the western side of the valley, and I am starting to experience some video breakdown because of the mountain, so I need to start adjusting the antenna. And I obviously adjust it the wrong way, so I lose the picture completely and get it back again, and then I notice that I'm banking all over the place. The speed is gone right down. While it's disconcerting at the time, it just seems to be a factor of how the autopilot handles low airspeed. It seems to just focus on maintaining altitude and forgets about coming home, and as a result it ends up pretty well standing on its tail, which in this case creates an additional problem because it throws the antenna alignment out of whack and I lose the video again. So all I can do is feed in a little bit more throttle and keep my fingers crossed that the autopilot's going to keep it in the air until I can get the video signal back again. Which I eventually do. As you can see, I've increased the throttle, so the double the draw I had. The speed's stable, and it gradually improves and gets the nose down, and we're back on track again. So just about 5 kilometres to go. Plenty of time for my heart rate to get back under control. So the voltage has dropped as a result of the increased throttle setting, so I'm getting a little bit worried about whether it's going to last. So I take it out of return to home mode and reduce the throttle so that I can start descending gradually and navigate back over to the eastern side of the valley. So the voltage is down below 10.5 volts, which is the Hail Mary range for me. And as luck would have it, I'm coming up on the roughest bit of country for miles around, the gorge where I lost the Tek-Sumo on the previous flight out in this direction. So I am very carefully managing the throttle as I fly through this. If I can just get over this next kilometre, the recovery, if I don't make it, is going to be a damn sight easier. So I'm pretty pleased to get through the gorge, and then I start descending again so that I can keep the throttle low and hopefully stretch it out. So I'm within a kilometre before I really start to relax. I'm below the 10 volts and the voltage drops fairly quickly, but from the last flight the motor doesn't actually cut out till I'm down below 9 volts, so I'm pretty confident that I'm going to make it, though I'm not going to have any time to do any practice landings. It's going to be a one approach landing, I think. So at this point I'm actually starting to finally pat myself a bit on the back, thinking, well, 9 kilometres is a pretty big achievement for me. So there's no real doubt that the prop changes has certainly added a kilometre to it. I'm not sure how much farther I could have gotten, but there's certainly more range there to be explored, provided I can hang on to the video for a little bit longer. Who knows, if the wind holds up I might be able to crack the magical 10 kilometre mark. So there you go, the poor old Tek-Sumo is still delivering.